video ready?
Action.
Okay, so thank you so much for coming. My name is Alberto, and I work at the Denver Public Library. I work at the Early Learning Department. That means that we normally work with families with kids from birth to 5, more or less. Today's presentation, we are going to talk about your great job with your kids. If you saw the library, you might have thought, they're gonna tell me that if I don't read 10 books every day, my kid is going to go to hell. But that's not what we're gonna talk about. We're just going to celebrate the great things that you're doing and to show you the great impact that you have when you do things with your kids. Before we go over the presentation, I'm going to show you all the resources. So if you have to leave early or if you have to go in the middle of the presentation or something like that, then you would know. All of them are here, so at the end you can come and pick up the flyers, and I'll show you also some of them on the website. The summary of what we're going to talk about is on this flyer. I think Ms. Duana already gave you this copy to invite you to the presentation, but if you don't have it, you can just come over and get it later. All the activities that we do on the library, we put them in this magazine that we publish every month, and it's organized by topics. So if you like cooking, there are cooking classes. If you want to practice your English, there are English conversation groups. We have computer classes that go from really basic, like how do I turn on the computer, to like really advanced. We have laser cutting machines, we have 3D printers that you can come and use, how to create your own website, coding, programming, all that kind of stuff. You can just look every month at the magazine or ask at your library, and you're really lucky because you're in between two libraries. You're close to Green Valley Ranch, but also Montbello is barely 10 minutes drive from here. So you have all the information here. Something that is really useful, since I see that you have some little kids, all the story times that happen throughout the city are on the back of this magazine. So you can be like, oh, I didn't know that on Thursday there's a 10:30 story time for all ages at Montbello. Or, oh, I didn't know that on Tuesdays morning there's this story time at Green Valley Ranch. So you can just look at it here. And another thing that you have at the bottom, this is really crazy. You have this phone number. And if you call this phone number, someone is gonna tell you a story or sing you a song 24/7 in Spanish or in English. So if you're in the car and your kids are getting wiggly, you can call and someone will tell a story to your kid. Or if you are like in the middle of the night and the kids can't get to go back to sleep, you can just give them the phone number and they can dial. And then someone will tell them a story or a song, and it's in Spanish or in English. So you can have these. And then we also have 24/7. We have this flyer that is a chat on the website, and I'll show you in a second. But you can ask anything, anytime, 24/7. So if at 3 a.m. you're trying to download this ebook, or you don't know what's going on tomorrow in the city of Denver or in Aurora, you can just chat, and someone will respond to you any piece of information that you need. And besides that, all the other services that we have are here. So about the conversation classes and all that stuff, it's here. You have details about those conversation classes in this flyer. It's called Plaza, and you have it in Green Valley Ranch and in Montbello. You have the phone number that you can just call. You don't have to sign up or anything. You just show up, and then you just participate with the community. And the last two things that I wanted to show you is this is all the days that these places are free. So which day is the zoo free, which day is the botanical gardens. So this Thursday, for example, the zoo is free. So you can pick up your kid and then run to the zoo.
Every year is the same day?
It's not always the same days, but it's around the same season. So the zoo is normally free when it's not summer, and then stuff like that. And then they have, sometimes they match with the days that there's no school with DPS, like when it's teacher professional day. So it's not always the same day. So you can take this. The important stuff, and this is only for the end of 2017. When you go back home, you can just look up SCFD, and you can see the free days for the whole state. So, you know, since you live up here in Green Valley, you can also see the free stuff in Aurora, or in Arapahoe, or in Douglas. You can just see all the free days, and it's here. Now, It looks like you have been there. So you know a lot of people go. So even better than the free days, you can decide when to go for free to some places. So let me show you. If you go in our website, if you go right here, denverlibrary.org, or if you just put Denver Library, it will show. And then you go to services. You go to services, and then you scroll down a little bit. Just a little bit. You're gonna see there that says museum and cultural passes. Okay? You click there in museums and cultural passes, and you see where it says book a pass online. You click on there, and are you ready? Because it's gonna be free forever for the rest of your life. Okay? So you click on it, and internet doesn't work. Great! It's because we are recording it. Oh, someone changed the link actually. There you go. It will open these and then look at pass online. Oh, they broke it. I don't know why it's not working. Oh. Let's see if they change the link or something. Oh, yeah. It's broken. So it will open there, and you see there's a calendar, like on the right. So you say, ooh, my mother-in-law is coming. What are we going to do with her? Where are we going to drop her at? So you just pick the day. So let's say November 29th. And you can see the places that are available. So you have the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. You can go for free. It's up to 7 people. The History Colorado Center, that's on Broadway and 14th, or Broadway and 13th. And the Museum of Contemporary Art on Denver, that's on 15th and Wazir, right off I-25. And what you do is you click on Request Pass. Request Pass. And the only thing it's going to ask you is for your library card number. That is the number on the back of your card. If you haven't used your card for a year, your card doesn't work anymore, I can get you a new one today, and it will work in a couple of days. But you just put the library card number there, and your password is the year of your birth. If you never change it, if you have been using the library card for a while, you might have changed it to something else. But if you never change it, it's gonna be this number, and your password is gonna be the year of your birth, so 1983 or whatever it is. And that's it. It will go to your phone. You show it. 7 people can go for free at the Science Museum. The Contemporary Art, I think, is good for like 5 people. And the Colorado History, I think, is good for like 6 people also. So the good thing is that if you have a library card, your wife has a library card, your ex-wife has a library card, your kids have a library card, everybody can go basically all the time. You can use one library card every 30 days. Okay, so if you go to the Science Museum this weekend, you wait 30 days, and you can do it again with the same library card. But if you have different library cards, you can do that all the time. Any questions about this?
If I don't have one, can I get rid of it?
Yeah, you can get it. Yeah, once I'm done, the only thing. No, I say like at the end of the presentation, you can just have to put your name and show us some sort of ID, and I'll give you the card, and then we'll go back to the lab. We will go back to the library, and we'll activate it for you, so you can use it probably in a couple of days. Okay? Any questions about this? No?
If you don't have your ID, that's okay too.
Yes, if you don't have your ID, we can do a temporary card, and it will be all the same thing. Instead, next time you go, you just show your ID. Okay? The last one of resources, if you know someone that needs to finish their high school degree, you can finish it online for free, and it's the high school degree plus a certification. It doesn't matter if the person that you know dropped out in 9th grade or if they never went to high school. They can do it all for free online. The way it works is there's a little survey to see if you're going to have the time, if you know where to get the internet connection and stuff like that. And then we give you a mom. Someone is going to call you every week to make sure that you actually finish it. So you cannot be like slacking. Okay? Any questions about this? So this is the resources part. This is all the time me talking because, you didn't know about this and now you do. So you're going to go for free to all these places. And then we're going to start with the actual presentation. As I was saying, we're going to see what a great job you're doing with your kids. If you think about it, when do you think your kids start learning? From birth, right? Like they didn't start learning the first day that you brought them to school, right? Like if you think from the moment that the baby came out till the day that you actually brought them to school, they were able to do lots of things, right? And if you think about when they were like 1 year old and now that they are most of them 4 and 5, they can do lots of different things. And yeah, the teachers do a great job, but you were there most of the time, right? So they learn every single thing that you did, for good or for bad. They learn it from you, and that's what we're going to see. I promise that I haven't been looking through your windows to know stuff that happens to you with your kids. I have my own 4-year-old at home, and I also have a 20-month-old. So what we're gonna talk about, it's about brain development. We're gonna see why our kids do sometimes really weird things, and we're like, what are you doing? Like, why does my son do these things? How do they learn best? So you can help them to learn lots of things. And what are some activities that are actually helping your kids to learn and you don't really have to put too much thought into that, okay? Closed captioning is not available. I have an accent, and that's because I'm from Spain. So if I say something that you don't understand, just raise your hand and be like, what do you say? And I'll say it again, okay? All right, and if you have any questions, let me know. So, as you said really well, you start learning from birth. Actually, you start learning even before you're born. There are some cool studies that says that if you read to your baby when they are still in your belly, and then you read the same book when they are born, they remember and they calm down. It's similar to the shh that you're supposed to imitate the noise in your belly. Same idea. The study is done with cat in a hat. Hopefully that's how you say it in English. And yeah, it's really interesting, right? The main idea of this presentation is that thanks to you, your kids learn, and the more activities that you provide for them, the more things that you help them do, they're gonna learn the best, right? So in this case, you can see two brains. One is the healthy one, and the other one is the neglected child. That means that in the healthy one, the kid is exposed to a lot of activities. So you go to do things outside, you play with your kids, you talk with your kids, you do things with them. And the neglected child doesn't get exposed to that much stuff. So the healthy child, you can see that the brain activates all the parts, and that's really good. We are all born with the same amount of neurons, but the experiences that you provide with your kids, that's what create those connections, right? That's why your kids, some of them are really good about trucks and dinosaurs, and some others are really good about sports and stuff like that, because what you have exposed them to is what they are into, and that's how they make their connections, right? On the other side, you can see that the neglected child, the part that is activated is like the bottom part of the back of your head, and that's like the animal part of the brain. So it's really hard for them to make those connections, and they have more instinct reactions, right? So the more things you do with your kids, the better. They have more connections, and they're able to relate that, right? A good example for this is when you are talking about topics that the kid knows a lot, and they can tell you a lot of things, but then if you ask them something that has nothing to do with what they know, it will take them longer to process information. And we're gonna see that, okay? Any questions? So all your kids can do everything as long as you expose them to that. The cool thing about this, what I was going to say, is that when you expose them to these activities, I'm sure you heard, not you, someone that you know. I'm sure you didn't do this, but someone that you know only once, said a bad word. Right? Not you. I know that you don't say bad words. I know you never curse out. I know you never do that in any of the languages that you know. But someone did it once, and the kid is able to say that word perfectly fine, perfectly pronounced, perfect context, right? Not you, someone that you know, right? So think about the power that that your neighbors have when they talk with their kids, right? If they say something positive, or if they show them something, or if you explain something to your kids, they are able to remember, and then they can connect those ideas, right? If you ever been to Ms. Duana's class, and the person that reads in the classroom, or Ms. Duana doing class, you can see that the kids, when you say something, they try to relate to what you say. The more things that you expose them to, the more connections they are making, and then they can tell you about it. And all those connections also happen in the brain, right? Awesome. Now, how do your kids learn? So we agree that they learn since birth or even before birth, but how do they learn? How would you say your kids learn?
To improve education.
They learn to improve education. And how do they do that? Do they do things? Or if you tell your kid, oh, can you do this? And you say it, the kid understands what you say and then does it immediately? Or they prefer if you what? If you show them, right? Like they like imitating, like they like copying what you do, right? What else? Yes?
First of all, the listening.
Listening, yeah, like
And doing activities.
like you say it and then you do it, so they can do it, yes?
Yes.
But you are the model, so if you do something, then they can see how you do it. Mm-hmm. What about the mood? Like, you say, Johnny, sit here, we're gonna learn the itsy bitsy spider. Is that how your kids learn? No? Are you sure? How do the kids learn? They need to be what?
Happy.
They need to be happy, right? Like, what the research shows is that if you're happy, if you're well fed, if you slept well, it's way easier for you to learn. If you remember when you went to school, or if you see Miss Duana's class, you will see that at the beginning of the day it's when they are talking about letters and numbers and all that kind of stuff. But towards the end of the day, how are the kids? Are they still happy and excited, or are they more like, Mommy, or I'm tired, or what would you say? At the end of the day, it's harder, right? Like, the teacher doesn't try to teach them anything the last 5 minutes of the day, right? Like, nothing like really crazy. So that's because when you're tired, it's really hard for your brain to process this information, right? And the reason for that is because when you're happy, when you feel safe and loved and stuff, your kidney actually releases into your brain something called serotonin, and that's a hormone that helps you learn, right? If you think about it, you know, so you are all what? Are you all 25? Do you want to, is that okay? Can you be 25? You want to be 25? So you're all 25, right? You're all 25. You have a 5-year-old, 4 or 5-year-old. That means you had your baby when you were 20, right? How is it possible that when you were 20, when you had your baby, okay, you didn't have to look up the Itsy Bitsy Spider or 5 Little Monkeys or any songs that you sing in your language? You knew them, right? You didn't have to go on the internet. Oh my God, how do you say in Amharic this song? Or how do you say in Vietnamese this song? Or how do you say in any other language this song, right? You knew it because your mom sang it to you. And that was what, 12 years before, right? Like if the last time your mom sang to you, you were 12, and that's like being super generous, or you were 8 or whatever, you remember because when your mom taught you those songs, you were really happy, you were with your family, you remember it was a good time. So the same thing with your kids. When you do activities with them and they're having fun, it stays in their head. It's like a way easier way to learn. But the other way around. When you are sad, when you are not well fed, when you are upset, your brain releases cortisol, and that blocks your learning. That's why it's really hard to describe bad things that happen to you, or you cannot remember things that happened to you at the school that you were not in a good mood. So that's why it's so important that you provide that happy environment for your kids, so then they can keep on learning. Now, a good example of the cortisol, right? When would you say your kids have more accidents or tantrums? At the beginning of the day or towards the end of the day?
Towards the end.
toward the end of the day, right? Like before bath time, or when they are eating, they spill the milk, or like they don't want to go to bed. You try to explain things, and they are like, no, this is not what I want to do. It's because of that, because their brain cannot really process. It's not like they are being annoying. It's like they are not trying to go against you. It's just like their brain cannot really process that information. So that's why when they are really upset and you try to explain them something, even if they want to, they cannot process that information. Okay? Any questions about this? No? All right. I'm gonna cover my eyes, okay? Raise your hand if you learned something so far, okay? I'm not looking. Okay, did you learn something so far? So Miss Duana's writing down names, but I'm not looking. Okay? Great. So we got the idea that doing things with your kids is important, and that's how they learn, right? And we're gonna see which kind of things we're talking about. But would you say talking with your kids is easy? Like when you ask something to your kid responds right away, or no?
You said when we're talking to them?
Yeah, well, if you say, what you wanna do after school, or things like that, or like, what you wanna eat, pizza or burger? Do they say right away, pizza or burger? Or do they say, oh, this? Or if you ask them, if you say, which animal is this? And they might tell you everything but a bear. Like, do they tell you right away, or do you see them like they're thinking? Like they're like, do your kids do that? Both, right? Depending on the topic, they can be really fast, or it can take them a while, right? So this is what happens in their brains. When you say, what is your favorite color? They hear the words on that part of the brain. The same words as when you're reading. So they think about the words, okay, color, red, green, yellow, which one is the one that I like? And then their brain has to say, okay, move your mouth to say red or to say yellow. All that, how long do you think it takes? Average. What would you say is the average? Few seconds. It takes 5 to 7 seconds. So imagine that I say, what is your favorite color? Red. And that's for every question. That's for every single thing that you tell them. That's the average. But think about the other stuff, right? Like if you ask them things that they know. Every day when you pick them up from school and you say, what did you do today at the school? And they say, nothing. Like even before you finish your question, right? That's because you ask them every day. They know what you're going to ask them. They know what they're going to respond, right? You are exposing them to that so they know exactly what to tell you. So imagine you expand that to other things. Like you go for a walk and you talk about how the trees leaves are falling, or like, you explain how you're cooking this thing at your house. They are getting that information and they are making those connections. So it's easier for them to be able to connect those ideas, right? So when you show them a book, or when the teacher is asking, what do you think is going to happen? They have all these options in their brain that they can tell you. But if you don't expose them to these activities, it will be really limited, right? So have you seen the movie Pretty Woman? You know the movie Pretty Woman with Richard Gere and Julia Roberts? No? It's because you are all 25, so it's like an old movie. But the main idea, or one of the scenes in the movie is that she goes to the restaurant, right? And the typical scene that there are like 7 forks and 7 knives, right? It's not like she doesn't know how to use a fork or a knife. It's like nobody ever told her which one goes first. So the same thing with your kids. It's not like you don't know. It's not like they don't know something. It's like nobody ever told them, so how are they supposed to know, right? Now, you all speak English, right? You speak English, more or less, like me? Are you ready? You all know English? How do you say this in English?
Hinges.
Hinges. Okay. Did everybody know that? No. Why? Because it's not that word that you use normally, right? Like when is the last time that you used that word?
Because I work in the door company.
Because you work in another company? But otherwise, how you know? I thought we were say, yeah, I'm a carpenter or something. Yeah. The only reason you know is because you've seen that every day, many times you talk about it, right? But otherwise, how would you know? So the same thing with your kids. If you never tell them things that happens around your house, like a ladle, you know, like the big spoon that you use to serve like a lot of food, like how would they know? Like there's no way that they're gonna know unless you tell them about it or they read it in a book. So the idea of doing things with your kids is really helping them with that vocabulary, and then they can take it from there and keep on learning, right? Based with the 5 to 7 second situation, think when you are reading with them or when you are talking with them. Did it ever happen to you that you ask them, you say, oh, what do you think this is, right? You ask in the classroom, what do you think this is? And 3 or 4 kids will say, oh, it's a bear, right away. Other kids will take a little bit, and then you keep on turning the pages on the book, you're reading the story, and one of the kids says, oh, my mom hates cats. And you're like, but that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Does that happen with your kids? And sometimes they say things that you're like, how is this any close related to what we are talking about? Because they can only make connections to things that they know, right? A really good example, I remember I was reading in a classroom, and I read the book, finished the book, and the kids are like, oh, can you read the last page? And it's like the biography that we never really read. So I read the biography, and it talked about the author had been in the Navy, right? So as soon as I said Navy, some of the kids, they were like, oh yeah, my parents were in the Navy, they killed pirates, they used guns, they used swords, those were like their connection. And the teacher is like, oh, we don't talk about guns and swords at school, right? But then this other girl, she raised her hand, and I said, oh, like, what do you want to say? And she said, my mom and I, we always shop at Old Navy. Because that was her idea of Navy, not guns and wars and pirates. It was like Old Navy. So the same thing happens with your kids. Like they only know what they've been exposed to. So the more things you do with them, the more connections they can make with the outside world and be able to connect, right? And when you talk with them, when you give them the chance to respond, when you don't respond right away, when you don't think that they are like, oh, like how you don't know this? They do know, but they need to process that information. That's why. One thing that I really like also, it's there's this doctor here in Denver that he calls the flashlight kids. And basically, it's whenever you do something around the house or whatever, if it's safe for the kids, tell them to come with a flashlight or just come with you. So then you can be explaining, oh, and then we're going to use this ingredient, or we're going to fix the hinges, or we're going to do this thing in the car. Or like if you are into, I don't know what, you can just say the words so they can learn them. Okay? Any questions about this? All right. So yeah, the 5 to 7 second rule. Cool. And the last slide about the theory, and then we're going to see actual activities. It says children need repetition to learn, right? The more you repeat something, the better they get it, right? Like the first time, it might be hard for them because it's that 5 to 7 second. But if you do something over and over, it'll be really easy for them, right? If you think about it, they are learning now how to write their names. The more they practice, the easier for them it's going to be. They also can ride their bike because since day one that you got it, they've been riding that bike. So the repetitions help them learn. Now, as I said before, we are all born with the same amount of neurons, and those connections happen based on what you expose your kids to. So when we are born, your connections are really basic. So pee-pee, caca, eating, crying. Some babies sleep, not mine, but I've heard that some babies actually sleep. And that's pretty much it. But then, as you grow, you can see when you're 6, your brain is full of connections. Think of all the stuff that you learn since you were born till you are 6. Like basically everything, right? Like you learn so many things. What is really interesting, and it's not on this slide, is that a baby that is 1 year old has double the connections that an adult. So, because every single thing that you do with the babies, they are learning, right? Like if you try, so I have a 20 months old, right? If you try to do things around the house, if they see you doing it, then they try to do it. Like my older kid, he jumps on his bed to go to bed. The other one is 20 months. He wants to jump on the bed also to go to sleep. Not super safe, but that's what he wants to do. And then, by the time you are 14, what happened? Do you see more connections or less connections?
Yes.
Less. And why is that?
Puberty.
She forgot.
Puberty. Boyfriends and girlfriends. They know everything. Yeah, that's what the first thing that you think. And it's kind of related. What happens is that if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So I know some of you speak different languages, or you know people that speak different languages, but you also know these people that when they were little, they were really good in Spanish, or they were very good in Vietnamese, or they were very good in Amharic, or whatever. And now it's really hard for them to have a conversation in that language because they went to school in English, the TV that they watch is in English, all their friends speak English. So if you don't use it, it's hard for you to speak in that language. Or you're trying to say something like the mall in your own language, and you're like, wait, but in my language we don't really say the mall, we don't have it, or like whatever. So it's the same thing. If you don't use it, you lose it. It's really hard for you to keep those connections. So that's why it's so important that you keep on providing your kids these activities that help them with their reading and writing, and activities that are going to help them with vocabulary, so it stays in their head. Now, talking about repetition. Have you heard of this movie? It's pretty popular. Have you heard of Frozen? Have you seen it? Not you, your kids. Have your kids seen Frozen? How many times? Like one time? Don't believe you. How many times have they seen Frozen or Cars 2 or Toy Story 3, whatever movie you have around that you've like, can we trash it now?
2, 3 times.
Like several times, right?
Yes.
And they are like really happy every time they watch it. Like you're like, dude, like you already know what's going to happen. Why you need to watch it again and again and again? Because that's how kids learn. Like the more they watch something, the more they do something, they feel more confident, right? Like they know what's going to happen. They have their own ideas. They start making connections to other things that they know. They say, oh, cover your face. This is a scary part, or things like that, because they are making those connections to what they know, right? So the same thing is what they're gonna have to do when they go to high school and college. They're gonna say, oh, I need you to write an essay about this topic, right? Like slavery, immigration, whatever experience that they have had, or that they have read about, or that they know about, they will be able to write more or less based on the things that they know. If they have read 5 essays, they will be able to write more. If you haven't read any essays, then it will be harder for you to connect those ideas. So that's what's happening when they are little. Like the more things that they are exposed, the more times it's repeated, and the more time they hear about it, they can make those connections. Think about those connections on your brain as if it was on a path. Like the more you walk on the path, it stays on the ground. So the more times you do it, the more time it stays in your head. Any questions? Now think about the 5 to 7 seconds. If you watch Frozen or any show that your kids watch, they don't wait 5 to 7 seconds for your kids to process what the show says. So the first time that your kid watch Frozen or any movie, they're going to remember Let It Go, and that's pretty much it, because it's really repetitive. But they wouldn't be able to tell you, oh, it's about the princess, that this and that and that. No, because they cannot get it, like 5 to 7 seconds. Like it's too fast for them to process, right? Any questions about this? So what we're going to see now is the 5 activities that you can do with your kids, or that you are doing with your kids actually, that this is really going to help them. And then we'll be done with this, okay? So these are, voila. Oh, there's no slide that says which ones are they. But you have it here. These are the 5 things that you can do with your kids. They are really expensive. Talking with your kids. Have you ever talked with your kids? Yeah? Singing, also really expensive. Reading, writing, and we're going to see what reading and writing means, and playing. So as you can see, those 5 things that you are already doing are really going to help with your kids' brain development and school success in the future. Now, the first one is talking. So, which language should we, imagine you haven't seen this. Which language should you use with your kid? If we have said that you are the role model, which ones are you going to use with your kid? The one that you know
Best.
the best. Yes, so if you normally speak Spanish at home, keep on speaking in Spanish with them, or if you speak any other language, because they can learn any language. Like the reason your kids speak English is because they were born here. If they had been born in Spain, they would speak Spanish. If they had been born in France, they would be perfect in French. So they can learn every single thing. People used to believe, and sometimes people tell you wrong that, oh, speak only to them in English because it makes it really hard for them to learn one or the other. No, they can learn any language at the same time. Okay? Any questions about this? Now, how many? Oh, ahí está. How many words do you think your kid needs to be ready for kinder? How many words do they need to recognize? How many words do you think your kids know? Too many, yeah, right answer. How many do you think? More or less. Just say a number, I'll tell you more or less.
More.
More? More than what? Like more, say a number. So like 10.
More than 100,000 words.
Yeah, like a number.
300.
300. Ooh, way more than 300. Way more than 300. Say a number? You never been to bingo? Just say a number. I'll tell you higher or lower.
They know more than 1,000 words.
More than 1,000. Yeah, way more than 1,000 words. Yes. Think about it. Your kid knows every single thing, more or less, that is around your house. Like the stuff that they can see every day, they know. Every single thing that is in their classroom, they know. They can tell you a lot of things that they've seen in shows. So, and they read. We have someone reading here every week for your kids, so they get 150 books a year. So they know, or they are supposed to know by kinder, around 15,000 words. And that's learning 100 a day if you don't talk to them ever in summer. So the 3 months of summer, you just don't talk to your kids. It's 100 a day. If you talk to them in summer, it's barely 70 words, that is like nothing. If you go to the grocery store and they ask you for these 3 random fruits, and you tell them and explain them, oh, this is the skin, this is the nut, this is whatever, you already are on the 20s, right there. You have been like,
they know everything.
Huh?
They know everything.
They know every day, yeah?
You know, sometimes they teach that to me.
Yes, he told you how to say things.
Yes. Sometimes I don't know what that's name, but
They will tell you.
yeah.
Yeah, my son, same thing. So English is not my first language. So he comes and he sings like all these like traditional songs in English, and I'm like, I didn't know. Or like we did like Halloween, and he knows all the names of all the candies, and I have no idea because I wasn't raised here. So he says Jolly Ranch. I'm like, what does that look like? Like I don't know. Like I know M&Ms. That's pretty much it. Right?
Yeah.
So you know, like yeah, because your kids are being exposed to those things, and that's how they learn, right? Like. At your work, your boss doesn't bring you candy that often, so you know about hinges, but you have no idea what
Right.
whatever the other candies are, like jawbreakers or whatever. So so it's the same thing, right? Like your kids are being exposed to that all the time. Like they go to their friend's house. Like my son is like, I want to be a Power Ranger. I'm like, how do you even know what a Power Ranger is? Like, you don't see that on TV. I don't talk about it because you know other kids talk about it. So that's how they learn. So that's the idea. Like you expose them to those things, and that's how they learn, right? All right, so moving on, talking. So when we talk with your kids, we already talked about this, give them the chance to respond. If you say, what is this? And they say, truck. You say, oh yeah, it's a red truck. That's how they are learning. They get in that vocabulary. You don't have to say, no, you don't say Gonda, you say went. So that's not how they learn. You just tell them the right way, and then they will learn, right? And you don't correct them, you just say it the right way, and that's how they're gonna pick it up, right? Also, say the real words. So instead of saying, this is a choo-choo full of moo-moos, you just say, oh, this is a train full of cows, right? Because that's the vocabulary that you learn. Now, does it help when you say, oh, the cows say moo-moo? Yes, it's way easier for them to say moo-moo
Please report to room 113.
than to say cow, right?
All classrooms, please report to room 113. Thank you.
But if you give them the vocabulary, that's how they're gonna learn it, right? Like when you are explaining them things, if you just say, oh, that's nothing, the kid doesn't know. So if you say nothing, how are they ever gonna know what that is, right? So just take the time to explain. I know that the kids are really annoying, I have my own. But just have the time to explain to them, and then they can understand, and then they will connect those ideas. And then one random day, they will tell you those exact same things, and they will have learned it, right? Moving on. So talking, yeah, that's when we do some practice. Now, reading. When we talk about reading, we are not saying what I said at the beginning of the presentation, ooh, read 100 books every day or else. The idea of reading is just the excuse to have a conversation with your kids. So you will get your books, right? So you have this book, right? And you will say, what do you think this is? Which animal do you think it is? What do you think it is? It's it's the 5 to 7 seconds. Don't rush it. You have to process. It's what is it, guys? It's a rabbit or it's a bunny, right? And then you can ask your kid, what do you think is going to happen to the bunny? What is the book going to talk about? And you can have a whole conversation. You can say, oh, do you know, like when we see them outside on the grass, eating all the grass? Or, you know, you can have a whole conversation about it, and you haven't even opened the book yet. And that is the idea, that when you are reading, you connect what you read with what they know. Oh, bunny is like in Easter, or oh, bunny is like what they eat in Spain on paella, right? You can make different connections with them. They're probably gonna tell you, oh, it's a family, and then you can talk about the family. Oh, who do you think is the daddy? Who do you think is the mommy, right? So you can have a whole conversation without even reading the words in the book, and that's what reading at these ages is, right? It's not like, sit there, we're gonna read this book. A baby rabbit story. Busy mother rabbit is building a nest. Twig, grass, and leaves will make a good home for new baby bunnies. Shh! This is really interesting. Be quiet. Soon 4 tiny bunnies are born. The wiggly babies are pinkish, gray, and naked. The snuggle bunnies. They keep each other. Do you think your kids understood anything if you read that way? No. But if you start telling them, oh, busy mother rabbit is building a nest. And then you say, oh, what do you think they used to build a nest? And you can be silly. You can say, do you think they use bricks? Or do you think they're going to paint it? So you can have that conversation, and your kid can tell you what they know, and you can fill in. Oh, I think they use, they will say, oh, branches. And you can, oh, look, it says twigs. It's like a small branches, right? So that's how your kids will learn. Instead of like, sit down, we have to read this book before we go to bed, because otherwise you wouldn't graduate. So that's not the idea. It's just making it interesting and attractive, so they will ask you for those books, right? Any questions about reading? The concept that this is called, it's called dialogic reading, and Miss Duana, she put here a list of other presentations that we can come and talk about. The one that is called dialogic reading, we come and you can bring your kids, and we can all sit around and just practice. We can do a story time, and you can see how we do it, and then you can practice with your kids and all that stuff. So that's one of the options that Miss Duana is offering. Reading, we'll come back. And then singing. Singing is the same thing as talking, right? You can do a lot of repetition. Like, think about the songs that you know. Do you know any song that your mom sang to you? Yes? Have you ever looked it up on Google, or you just know it? Or did you ever have to look up the Itsy Bitsy Spider, or do you have to ever look up Pablo Monkeys? No, because you remember, because your mom taught you, right? So that's the reason, that because you were happy, there's a cultural component to it. It's really repetitive, right? And music has a lot of power. If you tell your kids, if Miss Duhana tell the kids, clean the room, the kids are like, no, stuff, you know. But if she plays this song that she always plays to clean, or if everybody starts singing clean up, they will do it, right? Because that repetition makes them, they know that when the song is over, there will be another activity. But if they don't clean, there will be not another activity. So that's why music is so important in their lives. Also, when they hear a song, or when they play an instrument, or when they dance or sing, their whole brain gets connected, and it gets like light up. So that means that they are making those connections across ways. When they are moving, they are crossing the midline, so that's helping you learn. So there's a lot of things that come with singing and dancing. Do you sing usually with your kids? Any good karaoke's in the Green Valley Ranch area? I don't know how. It's too far from my house. But it's really helpful, right? Like your kids, when they are singing, they are normally happy. It's easier to convince them to do things, right? Okay? And then the last two is gonna be writing and playing, right? Now, about writing, basically what you are helping them with is to have a strength in their fingers. So any activity that you provide or that they provide at the school or when they were little, that you use your fingers, is helping you with the future of your kids' writing. Think about it, okay? Imagine you get a pen, okay? Imagine you grab a pen. Everybody grabs a pen, right? And then you write your name, okay? So you write your name, Alberto. Easy, most of you can do it, right? Now, if you switch pens to your other hand, and you try to write your name, what is hard about it? Do you forget the letters? What is hard about it?
How to write.
How to write, like holding the pencil is the hard part, right? If you see Miss Duana teaching your kids how to write their name, the letters, most of the kids, they know most of them, but the hard part is like, why is the paper not staying on the table, right? Like, why is the paper like going to this side, or why is my hand like not going? Because what is hard to write is how to hold the pencil. It's really unnatural, right? If I throw you my wallet, huh? None of you is gonna try to grab the wallet like this. Everybody tries to grab the stuff with their hands like this. So that's why your kids, when they start writing, they grab the markers this way because they don't have enough strength on their fingers. So like all kind of craft, like the macaroni necklace, or like when they have to do things with tweezers, or like Play-Doh, clay, sand, stuff like that that makes them move their fingers, it's gonna help them to get strength, and then they can write. It's gonna be easier for them to write. When you get home, write your name with your opposite hand, and ask your kid to write their name, and you will see that it's exactly the same handwriting, and it's really like, right? Because that's the problem, not the problem. That's the context. Like they cannot write well if they cannot hold the pencil well. Okay. And the last one, and then I'm gonna give you a prize if you get the questions right. Writing. So these are the 4 steps we were talking about. So first you make marks, and then you do drawing, and then eventually you can write your name. And then the last one, it's playing. And playing is super important at these ages. Playing is how they learn. All the stuff that we have talked about, they can do it through play. When they have to convince another friend and tell them, oh no, like this toy is way better than yours, or my sandwich is tastier than yours, to be able to trade with their friends or whatever. They are using vocabulary, they have to use that social emotional skills, understand what the other people are feeling. They have to do, when they're playing outside, they have to do those like motor skills, like the gross motor or fine motor, so it's helping them with balance. They can play and spot patterns when they're playing like hide and seek or things like that. So playing really puts all the skills together, right? So playing is really important. And playing is fun. And when you're happy, you learn. So instead of being like, copy the numbers 100 times, we can play a game with numbers and it will be easier for them, right? So that's why playing is so important. Now, free play is really important. So yeah, you can spend money, buy toys, that's great, but them having the chance to just play without you telling them, no, this is how the Legos work, or no, like Spider-Man doesn't fly, you cannot say that Spider-Man, they don't care. That free play is really important for them. They are creating their own ideas and their own world, their own connections, and that's really, really beneficial for them. Okay? Any questions about this? Are you ready for your prize? Yeah? What do you think the prize is going to be? Huh? What do you think it's going to be?
A book.
A book? Yay! Yes, your prize is going to be a book. But you have to tell me something that you learned today, okay? If you tell me, I give you a book. If not, I'll be really mad and I will cry, okay? This is the playing thing that I said. So you see free play 60% of the time. Directed free play is when you give them something so they can experience. So let's say that your kids are always playing with certain toys, and one day you bring clay, or one day you bring water with soap, like bubbles. So it's directed free play because you give them something for them to experience it, but you're not telling them, don't put the bubbles there, don't put the clay there, don't make that. No, this is really free. They can do whatever they want, but you're giving them that extra experience to them, right? All right. Are you ready? You already thought something that you learned today? Now, if someone else says what you're thinking, you have to think of something else. So have a backup, okay? Have an extra thing that you learn. So you need to at least to have learned 2 things. Okay? In an hour, 2 things, I think it's pretty fair, okay? Are you ready? Alright. You can cheat now, you can tell your friends if they didn't learn anything. Alright, so these are the options. So who wants to go first? Who learned something?
Okay.
Yes.
Like the first thing is that to motivate the kids to do this instead of do this like this, you know. Without stress, their mind should be free.
Okay, if you show them in a nice way, it would be easier than if you just like sit down here. Okay, which one do you want? You can come up and pick it. What else?
I'll go next. So basically make learning fun, so they'll have more serotonin than cholesterol.
Not cortisol, yeah.
Yeah.
Cholesterol is gonna be there anyways.
Yeah, cholesterol.
Yes, very good. Yeah, I think that's the first time that someone actually says the word serotonin like in one of the answers. Yeah. Yes, come and get which one you want. Okay, what else? Yes.
Okay, instead of learning like a serious, but like singing or playing, they're gonna know more.
Yeah, when you do these fun activities, it's gonna be easier for them. Come and pick your book. What else?
The importance of talking and playing with your kids.
The importance of talking and playing. Yeah, when you talk, you're giving them that vocabulary. So if you're around the house and you're making like mole and you say all the ingredients, then they can learn it, right?
They can learn.
No cheating, no cheating. You already went. You can tell them to tell me if you want. No hiding. Just
Sure, read and write.
Read
To
it.
show them, to show them how to read and write.
how to read and write. Yeah, like you show them so they can see how you do it. Yeah, and also like the idea of you ask them what they think is gonna happen, so then you can read and see if they have the vocabulary. All right, come and get whatever you want. All right. If you don't tell us, we cannot leave, and there's a lot of traffic on I-70. So yes. Tell me.
We need to have them to motivate to learn different things,
You do different things, yeah.
to be polite with them.
Yes, if you do different things, you expose them to those experiences, so then they can do it and they know about it. Come and get a book. Next, the last one. You wanna tell me something? Do you want me to ask you the number of words? Would you be able to tell me that?
Instead of
It's fine. How many words? 15?
instead of talking, we have to show the different things.
Awesome. Yeah. Which one are you missing? You're missing. You want this one? Is that the one that you guys don't have? All right. There you go. Thank you. So great. I'm gonna have the resources here. If you need to sign up for a library card, just come up and we can get that done for you. And thank you for the applause. Okay.
Also, I would like to have more workshops, but I want workshops that you're